Questions 31 through 34. Listen to part of a conversation between two students.
Hi, Fred. What are you doing over here by the river? Studying?
Sort of. I'm analyzing the structure of that little bridge over there for my engineering class. The professor wanted us to look at a simple bridge before we study the more complex structures, like suspension bridges.
You know, just last week we talked about early bridges in my anthropology class. Have you talked about them in your class?
Well, we learned that the first bridge was built around 700 BC. It was made of logs that were fastened together with rope, and it was laid across the Euphrates River in Babylon.
Well, the bridge in Babylon was probably the first bridge that was designed to last a while. At least it's the first one to appear in recorded history. But I'm talking about even earlier than that. People have been using bridges since prehistoric times.
Really? I wonder why we didn't learn about them in my engineering class.
Probably because back then there were no engineers to design bridges. In fact, the earliest bridges were trees that fell down or were blown down and just happened to connect opposite sides of a river.
That makes sense. And that's where people probably got the idea to build bridges. You know, they probably figured they could chop down a tree and then lay it across the banks of a stream and walk across it.
Exactly. Say, you mentioned suspension bridges earlier. They're a relatively new concept, aren't they? I mean, the technology needed to suspend a bridge from wires is pretty sophisticated.
You may be thinking about modern suspension bridges with concrete reinforcements and steel. That just began in the 19th century, but the first suspension bridges were actually built about 2,000 years ago in South and Central America.
Interesting. Well, I've got to go across your bridge here to get to class. Good luck on your assignment.
Thanks. I'll see you later.
Number 31. What are the speakers mainly discussing? Number 32. What was the man doing by the river? Number 33. According to the woman, why hasn't the man learned about prehistoric bridges in his class? Number 34. What does the woman imply about the earliest bridges? Questions 35 through 38. Listen to a conversation in a research laboratory.
Morning, Professor.
Hi, glad you could come over. I hope you'll find this interesting. Let me show you an invention we've been working on here at the lab.
Looks like a refrigerator.
It is. Here, you want a cold drink?
Not just now, thanks. But I thought you were doing research on sound waves.
I am. What do you think chilled that soda?
Sound waves?
Exactly. This refrigerator has no motor.
No?
Imagine a gas-filled tube with stereo speakers at either end. When you turn them up loud enough, the refrigerant gas in the tube is compressed by the sound waves, and then a lot of heat is pushed out of the system.
Okay, and then?
Then, when the sound stops, the gas expands again and the temperature inside drops.
But the sound would be awfully loud at first, wouldn't it?
About 10,000 times louder than a rock concert. But we've got it pretty well insulated for sound.
Yes, I can't hear it at all.
Right, it's undetectable by the human ear. And aside from the speakers, it doesn't have all the noisy moving parts of the older refrigerators.
That's an improvement.
Sure is. And also, in terms of the environment, the gas it uses doesn't hurt the ozone layer. And it's versatile, too. The astronauts used one like this up on the space shuttle back in '92.
Really?
And the technology would also work for air conditioning, controlling temperatures inside computers, storing medicines and vaccines in remote areas.
Wow, this invention really is interesting. In fact, it's kind of cool.
Number 35. What are the speakers mainly discussing? Number 36. How is the professor's refrigerator unique? Number 37. According to the professor, who has already used the new technology? Number 38. Why might medical doctors become interested in what the professor has developed?